First item, on February 14th, Russian landing ship, the Caesar Kunov, was hit and sunk in the Black Sea. The main intelligence department of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, HUR, released a video showing a group of Magara V5 kamikaze unmanned surface vessels, or USVs, attacking the Caesar Kunov while it was stationary. The attack resulted in critical damage to the ship, which began to sink after receiving critical holes on the left side. The Caesar Kunov, or BDK-64, was a Project 775 Ropucha 1 class large landing ship of the Russian Navy, built in Poland and launched in 1986. The ship had a displacement of around 4,000 tons when fully loaded and measures about 112 meters in length. It could carry up to 340 troops along with tanks and APCs. It was armed with 57 millimeter guns, surface-to-air missile launchers, and Grad rocket launchers to conduct strikes on the land. Ukraine's military confirmed the sinking of the Caesar Kunov amphibious ship approximately 4 kilometers off Alupka, a city on the southern edge of the Crimean Peninsula. HUR's Group 13 has taken responsibility for the operation. The sinking of the Caesar Kunov is a significant blow to the Russian Black Sea Fleet, notably reducing the operational capacity of the fleet to only 5 of the original 13 serviceable ships. Of course, like this one incident is one of many in which Ukraine has sunk Russian warships using both missiles like Storm Shadow and previously their own Neptune missiles, and also these drones, which are illustrated in the footage. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, when asked about the comment, directing all inquiries to the Russian Ministry of Defense, which as of now, to my knowledge, hasn't commented on the incident. Next item. In the Kherson Oblast occupied region at the small town of Kalanchak, there have been reports of the torture and murder of local priest Stefan Podolchak by Russian military forces. This was disclosed by Ukraine's Center for Journalistic Investigations on February 16th. Svetlana Fomina, who leads the administration in Kalanchak, reported on February 14th that Russian forces forcibly entered the residence of the priest, who is a 59-year-old rector of the local Orthodox Church of Ukraine, and abducted him to an undisclosed location. 2 days later, on February 15th, his spouse received a summons to identify the body of her late husband. The priest originated from Lviv Oblast, and he relocated to Kalanchak, where, alongside his parishioners, he dedicated over a decade of his life to building the church there. His unwavering support for Ukraine was evident because he consistently held services in Ukrainian and offered prayers for the nation, even during the occupation. It's likely for these reasons he was targeted specifically by Russia. Despite the ongoing occupation, he did continue to lead services in Ukrainian, and he faced several summons by the FSB for discussions aimed at pressuring him to switch allegiance to the Moscow Patriarchate, which he consistently rebuffed. And this is a continuing effort by Russia to force priests into their own church organization, which of course is dominated by Russian intelligence services, to the point where the patriarchy, the Moscow Patriarchate, was himself an intelligence agent. So next item. Nearly $500,000 or $500,000 US dollars in forfeited Russian funds seized by the United States due to the dismantling of an illegal procurement network aimed at smuggling some sophisticated US machinery into Russia has been earmarked to instead aid Ukraine. This is the second time such funds have been allocated for Ukraine, following a previous transfer of $5.4 million for the support of Ukrainian war veterans. The legal basis for the transfers were solidified when President Joe Biden signed a law in late 2022 allowing the Department of Justice to redirect some forfeited assets to the State Department for the purpose of aiding Ukraine. This legislation was part of a broader initiative by the US government to target the financial networks of Russian oligarchs attempting to circumvent sanctions through a task force that they named Kleptocapture. This was launched by Garland in response to the 2022 Russian invasion. Estonia will act as an intermediary to expedite the process, and they will utilize the funds to conduct damage assessment and critical repairs of Ukraine's electrical distribution and transmission system, which have been targeted by Russian forces. A Latvian citizen involved in the procurement scheme pleaded guilty to violating U.S. export laws. This individual admitted to conspiring to smuggle high-precision machine tools to Russia and is awaiting sentencing. The investigation involved multiple agencies from the United States, Latvia, and Estonia, and the cooperation led to the interception of the smuggled machinery and subsequent funds, which will now go to Ukraine. Next item, please. The Ukrainian armed forces made a strategic decision to withdraw from the city of Avdiivka. This decision came after intense fighting and considerable pressure from Russian forces aiming to capture the eastern city. Avdiivka is known for its industrial significance and close proximity to the Russian-occupied city of Donetsk. It's been the focal point of military operations in the area, drawing comparisons to the prolonged and grueling battle for Bakhmut previously, which Russia captured after months of combat and heavy losses. The 3rd Assault Brigade of Ukraine, which had previously fought in the Battle of Bakhmut, was deployed to Avdiivka, facing what they described as a threatening and unstable situation. The city's defense had been robust, with Ukrainian forces making use of fortified positions, including concrete bunkers and tower blocks, which made direct assaults particularly costly for attacking Russian forces. The fighting in Avdiivka has been marked by heavy casualties. Ukrainian and Western military analysts have noted the high casualty rates among Russian forces, highlighting the fierce resistance offered by Ukrainian defenders. The decision to withdraw came after frequent reports Ukrainian forces do not have enough shells to respond to the attacks from 2 separate Russian armies focused on taking the city, demonstrating a critical need for Ukraine's allies to supply the embattled nation with a significantly larger quantity of artillery ammunition. Ukrainian forces began withdrawing from Avdiivka as Russian forces continued to advance, with Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Syrskyi stating that early on February, he ordered the withdrawal to more favorable defensive position. The decision was aimed, in his words, at avoiding encirclement and preserving the lives of Ukrainian personnel. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu claimed that Russian forces had established full control over Avdiivka as of February 17th, and this statement was made as Ukrainian forces likely completed their withdrawal from the area. Next item. Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles announced a package of military aid for Ukraine, including the rapid transfer of M113 APC vehicles. The announcement came during the 19th meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, alongside the M113 vehicles, probably a better way to say it, 2 of which have been adapted into medical vehicles. Spain plans to provide Ukraine with fire trucks, snow removal vehicles, 2 light naval vessels, a power generator, and a water treatment plant. Robles highlighted the success of the Ukrainian military's training in Spain, which covers the use of systems such as Patriot, NASAMS, and Hawk, all air defense systems, as well as underwater demining. She mentioned Spain's involvement in 6 coalitions supporting Ukraine, emphasizing the importance of these efforts in achieving full interoperability between Ukrainian armed forces and their allies and partners. The M113 armored personnel carrier is known for its versatility and widespread use and represents the second batch sent to Ukraine by Spain in the last 6 months. Spain has also committed to training about 4,000 Ukrainian troops, which is double the number that was originally planned, and they will offer additional courses for Ukraine's defenders in the upcoming year. This week, Ukraine's Air Force successfully shot down 3, actually 4, as of this morning, Russian Su-34 fighter bombers over the southern front. These aircraft were brought down on Friday morning, and one more this morning, reportedly by Patriot anti-aircraft missiles near Ukraine's Kherson bridgehead over the river Dnipro. Ukrainian officials, including Alexei Danilov, Secretary of Ukraine's Security Council, highlighted the strategic importance of neutralizing these jets, which had been posing significant threats to Ukrainian forces. The Su-34 is known for its ability to carry out strikes on targets up to 600 miles away with a significant payload, making it a notable setback to lose this aircraft for Russian military efforts. Despite the downing of these aircraft, the pilot's conditions remain unreported, although some Russian telegram sources have shown photos of at least one pilot being ejected successfully and being rescued by Russian forces. It was reported, I mentioned that, it was reported this morning that an additional Su-34 was downed by Ukrainian forces. The Su-34 is among Russia's most sophisticated aircraft, capable of conducting strikes on targets up to 600 miles away with a payload of 12 tons of bombs and missiles. Russia is believed to have had around 150 Su-34s prior to the invasion, with 20 other Su-34s reported shot down by Ukraine before the events that were described. Ukrainian Air Force Commander Lieutenant General Mykola Oleschuk characterized the operation as brilliantly planned, and it reflects a high degree of coordination and skill, which was involved in advanced aircraft. Next item. French President Emmanuel Macron, following discussions with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Paris, announced a comprehensive military aid package and a bilateral security agreement. This package is aimed at enhancing Ukraine's defensive capabilities and includes artillery shells, Caesar artillery systems, and augmented air defense capabilities. Further emphasizing its commitment, France has decided to double its supply of 155mm artillery shells to Ukraine, increasing deliveries to about 2,000 shells per month, starting from the end of March 2023. This increase in ammunition supply is critical for Ukraine as it navigates a war of attrition with Russian forces. The ramp-up in artillery shell deliveries has been facilitated through a collaborative effort with Australia, where Canberra is supplying the gunpowder necessary for French arms manufacturer Nexter to produce these shells. The explosives for this artillery ammunition is in rather short supply in a lot of places, so this is one reason that this partnership is critical. Moreover, France is exploring the possibility of enhancing a financial mechanism designed to allow Ukraine to purchase additional French weapons. This comes after the full allocation of an initial 200 million euro fund dedicated to this purpose, and that means that they used up that entire fund, so they're considering adding additional euros to it. Demonstrating further support, France is also planning to supply Ukraine with a new package of light AMX-10 RC armored combat vehicles, following the completion of an initial delivery previously. These vehicles are expected in the coming months. In addition to these measures, France has detailed a security pact with Ukraine aiming to solidify extended military cooperation. This pact includes a provision of around 40 Scalp EG cruise missiles and reportedly hundreds of bombs, marking a significant enhancement of Ukraine's long-range strike capabilities. The language stated in the agreement as part of a broader war economy effort by France to increase the production and supply of military equipment to Ukraine, including Caesar howitzers, which the Ukrainians have expressed a particular desire for. I should just mention, as maybe an editorial statement, I think war economy is maybe pushing it a bit. But it's definitely good to see an increase in French production. While the specifics of the security pact are not fully disclosed, President Zelensky has stated it is similar to the one negotiated previously with the UK, and it does at least include the following provisions. As mentioned, France will supply long-range strike capabilities, the Scalp EG cruise missiles and bombs. I believe John actually mentioned the specific bombs that France would probably be manufacturing for Ukraine in a previous broadcast. The French defense industry will be operating under a war economy to increase vital military equipment, including 155 shells and howitzers. Beyond the provision of military hardware, the pact includes training and airspace protection. France has emphasized swift delivery of military aid, planning to transfer equipment almost in real time. Again, this is like the language that the French used in the treaty. Scheduled meetings between French and Ukrainian defense ministers. So they're supposed to have regular meetings that should facilitate direct dialogue about how they can better coordinate their efforts. Very good news coming out of France. Also, Germany recently signed a bilateral pact. Basically, I think Denmark is also exploring one. So a lot of European nations are working towards establishing bilateral security pacts with Ukraine, which is very positive development. It's sort of, from what I can tell, these are really formalizing a lot of what's been going on kind of in an ad hoc basis in the past. To be a little bit more of a formal, routinized and more regularized situation. So it's good to see this occurring. Next item. So my final item for the report, the Royal United Services Institute for Defense and Security Studies, we don't usually hear the full name, it's also known as RUSI, recently published a report titled Russian Military Objectives and Capacity in Ukraine through 2024. The following is a summary of the findings from that report. Russia's primary goal as of 2024 is the subjugation of Ukraine, with military efforts directed towards achieving this. Surrender terms proposed by Russian intermediaries include Ukraine ceding territory already under Russian control, agreeing not to join NATO, and accepting a head of state approved by Russia. Russia's plan is divided into 3 stages: ongoing pressure to drain Ukrainian resources, breaking international support for Ukraine, and initiating further offensives to gain leverage for future negotiations. The timeline for this plan extends into 2026, with potential for expanded objectives if successful. The Russian military has seen an increase in troop numbers, rising to approximately 470,000 troops by 2024. With organizational improvements planned. Real quick, sorry, for the footage, obviously, there's no real, film footage I could find for this report that was just released. Maybe if you could skip ahead in the footage a bit. I just found this is sort of like number breakdowns. For some reason, though, there's like all this fancy animation at the beginning. I don't know why that's necessary. So yeah, this would be better, this type of stuff. But I thought this would maybe be a good kind of like big picture type stuff to be looking at while we go through this report. So sorry about that, folks. The Russian military has seen an increase in the troop numbers, as I mentioned, rising to approximately 470,000 from an initial 190,000 depicted in the graphic. However, force quality remains challenged by attrition. Russian forces operate under a traditional Soviet order of battle. I take that to mean that the BTG isn't, the tactical group, I think it's called, is not functioning as planned, but I'm not totally sure what they mean by Soviet order of battle. conducting smaller tactical operations to maintain pressure on Ukrainian forces. Equipment sets, including artillery, tanks, and aircraft, are limited by ammunition shortages and a reliance on Western components. Despite these challenges, Russian recruitment efforts are meeting targets, and they are projected to sustain their current rate of attrition in personnel through 2025. On the industrial front, Russia has mobilized its defense industry to increase production, delivering tanks, armored vehicles, and missiles to its forces. However, there are limits and reliability of this output, with a significant portion of armored vehicles being refurbished rather than newly produced. Dependency on Western components for complex weapons also poses many vulnerabilities for Russian war production. Ammunition manufacture is a critical limitation, with shortages expected to impact combat operations in 2025. Russia has signed supply contracts with other nations, such as North Korea and Iran, to compensate for these shortages, but a shortfall in production remains a distinct possibility. The document concludes by emphasizing the importance of Ukraine's international partners in supporting the Ukrainian armed forces to counter Russian objectives. It suggests that continued assistance to Ukraine could undermine Russian gains, potentially shifting the balance of power in Ukraine's favor. Ensuring Ukraine's resistance through 2025 is deemed crucial for countering Russian objectives and creating opportunities for favorable negotiations by challenging Russia's understanding of the war's current trajectory. So that concludes my report of all of the news for this week. But we did have, of course, some very bad strikes on Dnipro, the city of Dnipro, this week. And we actually have a contributor to Tochnyi, Vasil, who lives in the city of Dnipro. So we just thought we'd give Vasil an opportunity to just maybe give a report on the recent strikes on his city and kind of what's been going on there. So Vasil, I'll turn it over to you. You're welcome to share with the audience whatever you'd like.
Hello all, I'm Vasil. I'm a lawyer from Dnipro. And I want to tell you about this week, how it was for our citizens. This week, Dnipro was attacked 2 times. First time it was attacked on 12th of February. I think it was near tonight. It was attacked by drones, by Shaheds. Dnipro was attacked and was hit our power plant. After this attack, some drones were hit our power plant. Some was shut down. I think we have some problems with our long range air defense, and we against drones are using only short range air defense, and that is why I think some drones have hit our power plant. After that attack, we have some problem. We had some problem with electricity and also with heat system, because some part of our city is receive heat from this power plant, and also our one hospital receive heat from this power plant, and 5 schools. After this attack, these 5 schools were closed because of temperature and because of heating power plant. And now our children are studying online. And one hospital, patients from one hospital were evacuated, also because of Russian attack. And also Russian attacked Dnipro against, it was on Thursday. I think it was by rockets. And I think they attacked our oil. Mm, um, I think they attack our oil storages, but I think it was unsuccessful because that oil storage isn't using, I think, and but also some factories were damaged by this attack, but which were situated near this oil storage. It's shortly report. If you are interested in some question, you can ask.
Yeah, thanks, Vasil. I think this week was particularly Russia launched more strikes than usual. Would you agree or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dnipro weren't hit so much, so many. I think for many maybe months, maybe last some massive attacks were in early January, first days of January, and after that it wasn't attacked so heavily. And also our region, Nikopol city, I want to tell this, it's situated southern part of Dnipro region, and it's maybe 15 kilometers from Enerhodar, where is situated our nuclear plant occupied. And Nikopol is usually hit from there, and not only by artillery and shells, but also they started to use drones, not Shaheds, but FPV and other drones to hit the city. It's cruel problem for us and for citizens of the city.
Right. So you're saying they're using the nuclear power plant as a place they launch weapons from so that Ukraine can't hit back, because if they do, they risk damaging the nuclear power plant, right?
Yeah. It's a very big problem. We can't use some artillery or rocket artillery. I think we can use only some very, maybe drones or maybe something like that.
Yes, I mean, obviously a war crime and pretty horrible, even outside of just the purely legal concept of a war crime. I think just a uniquely horrible and evil thing to do. So, I mean, thank you very much, Vasil. Did you have anything else you wanted to conclude with?
What concludes they continue their terrorist attacks. They continue try to push citizens of Dnipro. I don't understand what's the goal of their attacks, because it's only kill our men and destroy our infrastructure, but it will not do anything what maybe they want, or they what they aim they have.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you heard it from a resident of Dnipro. The terror attacks are awful, but they're not working. They're not going to
Yeah,
deter
it's
Ukraine.
also I want to say it's very loud when Shaheds or rocket is hit or destroyed, and also when in some way um, in some way it's very loudly, very, and mirror or not mirrors and windows are you hear it, you hear these explosions very exactly and strictly.
Yeah, it's incredibly scary. It's, I mean, imagine for pets, for kids, it's very disruptive to people's everyday life, and it's just plain terrorism.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
yeah. It's very pity to say, but older men and like me and other citizens of Dnipro, you are used to. It's very bad to say, but yes. But children, pets, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Vasil, for coming on and sharing with us. You're always welcome up anytime if you want to share any news with us.